Hey everybody, I'm Chris King, and if I stumble over my words, it's because I wasn't sure for a second. But I'm here with Leane Shannon, registered play therapist, LPC or LMFT. The
LPC,
LPC,
yes.
registered play therapist. Do you have other letters, or is it just LPC RPT?
Oh, very good. You got it. That's it. That's all there is.
Awesome. So a lot of you might know this or might recognize a lot of the work that we do sometimes feels a little adolescent and young adult centric while we work with adults and couples and older folks too. But one area that Leane specializes in, and we work with little kiddos. And Leanne's a play therapist has her room specially outfitted, and we want to help families of the littles. And I'm a little curious because I want people to know,
Hmm.
how did you get here? What kind of like stuff put you in a position to where you're like, man, I just want to help little guys and girls like
Yeah.
thrive. How did you
Yeah.
get to doing this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I started off not knowing that this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
That's always a great place to start.
sure.
Um, and but I started off as in college as an early childhood education major. I
Mhm.
knew that I always wanted to work with kids. Um, and I also knew that I wanted to be in the helping profession, wanted to be helping others. Um, I really also felt kind of drawn into ministry in a way.
Yeah.
And so when I went to college at John Brown University, studied early childhood education, and finished my degree with um, elementary education, started teaching, and about 5 years into it, I was like, man, I know there's something more that I need to do. Got I really got interested in counseling
Huh.
and went to
Where were you teaching in Tulsa or?
yeah. I was actually teaching in Tulsa. I was teaching in East Tulsa.
Got it.
I was an English language learner teacher. So I taught the full gamut, full range, all the way from pre-K to sixth grade.
Oh,
Um, so I had experience with all the little kids through there and all of the big little kids in there. Um, and it was a very diverse school that I was at. I went to school or went to work every day, and I was in the minority. It was pretty fascinating. But I had language studies was my emphasis when I was in college, which had really helped prepare me to step into that role. And so as I stepped further into that role, I kept seeing the need for people who really cared for kids,
hmm.
people who could help kids and families work through their problems because the school could not meet all of the needs.
Right, right.
So, um, so that's when I went back to school
Okay.
to become a therapist, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to become a therapist. Um, and at first, I thought, maybe I'm through working with kids. Maybe I'm going to work with adults,
Right.
but I couldn't. As soon as I started my internship and was working with adults, I missed my kids,
Yeah.
and so started
Yeah.
back working with them, and knew that they were not going to leave me. They
Yeah.
were still very much in my heart, and I did not want to quit working with them. So after I finished my master's degree and got licensed. I also started back and did a program here in Oklahoma to become a registered play therapist. So I did another 2 years of training to become an RPT.
Can I ask? So I now I remember that from when I
Yeah.
interviewed you. I think when you were saying JBU, because I know that Nick Cornett and those guys like really emphasize the RPT stuff at JBU, but it actually wasn't until after JBU. So you had more of like the
Yeah.
therapy thing at JBU and then went back.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went back to I did my early childhood education stuff was at JBU, and then um
Oh yeah,
because
well,
I
yeah. Where was your master's at? Where
yeah,
was
my
it?
master's degree was at NSU in Broken Arrow because I needed to be able to work while I was getting my degree.
And be here and
So
all at night, so you can still do your thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I taught during the day and I would go to class at night and um write papers and do all sorts of things in the
Right.
evenings and
Right.
weekends. So yeah, that was my life.
So talk to me about RPT. Like, what's the deal with play therapy? Why is that a modality that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe some people think that whenever we're going to do therapy with a 5-year-old, we're going to sit down and put them on a couch and do the
you know,
weird tell me
yeah.
how it feels thing. But like, this isn't what we're doing, right?
N- Um, no, actually. No, as a matter of fact, let me I'm gonna give you a quick look
Sure.
around here.
Yep.
So like you walk in, there's the door. We're gonna have some toys and dolls
Yep. Yep.
and stuff that's actually hidden behind my curtains over here too. But no, children do not sit and talk. If you're a parent, you know this. Um, even our kids who are really chatty, they don't have all the words yet that they need to be able to communicate. They're very concrete in their thinking.
Hmm.
So what we do is we use something called play. Um, Even adults like to play. We play in different ways. But we utilize play with kids because that is the way that they communicate.
Yeah.
So it only seems natural that if we're going to be doing therapy with them, if we're going to help them work on problems, that we want to communicate in their language. So that's what we do. We play. So I have, as you can see, I have all sorts of stuffies, puppets. We use dolls. We use action figures, characters. Um, Inside Out has been a wonderful movie that I've gotten the little figures for. My kids relate to those a lot. So yeah, we utilize play to help them connect to what's going on in their thoughts and in their emotions and their feelings to be able to work on the problems that they might be having or be struggling with.
What kind of things do you commonly like? What kind of issues are you generally working
Hmm.
with parents and little kids? And I'm assuming like kind of your client is generally like maybe up to 9 or 10 years old. Is that about right?
Yeah, yeah. And so with these kids and these families, typically, I actually work through a variety of different things. But especially I would say since we've had the COVID-19 pandemic,
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of anxiety in children. So work on a lot of anxiety, a lot of things like separation anxiety. Um, Sometimes it's just generalized anxiety. Kids will tell me that they're really worried, or they'll express that they're really worried, or they don't want to be away from mom, or they don't want to be away from dad, or their caregiver. Um, Sometimes it's things like ADHD, and they don't know how to control those impulses. They just know, oh, I want something and I want it now. We want to go do it. Um, I also work with autism,
Mhm.
kids who are on the autism spectrum. Um, even things like OCD in children. I've seen that, work with that. Um, have worked with trauma, and have been trained in level 1. I've of Theraplay. So I've utilized some of those techniques to help out with some attachment issues. And so like kiddos who maybe have been adopted or have had some attachment ruptures.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, lots of different things.
Man, that's such a diverse thing. Okay, so now what about the parents of these kiddos? So I'm a parent of three, and mine are all grown up and out of the house, and I think how much it would have been so great to have help,
Mhm.
and knowledge in this area whenever we were raising our kids when they were young. Like what when you see, I don't know, I'm not sure how to ask this because it's
It's okay.
gonna be out there
Just
forever.
ask it.
Well, no, it's really about the parents. It's like, okay, so like,
Yes.
what do you see what do parents need help with a lot? And what do you see? Sometimes there's parents that come in and like, well, I think we're doing this thing, and I don't know if that's a good idea. And you're like, yeah, that's a great idea. Like,
Hmm.
so I don't know that I'm asking how do parents screw it up, but I do know that like we all need help. And so, what
Yes.
are some common ways that maybe, things that you hear or ways in which parents need help with these little guys and girls?
Yeah. So definitely one of the things that I see is definitely with things like electronics.
Ah,
Parents, i- parents, it's so easy for human nature, right? We tend to go to one extreme or another. So parents it's so easy to fall into the trap of I'm so tired, when I come home
yeah,
from work and I can't, I do not want my 5-year-old constantly begging me for the iPad. And
yeah,
so parents will give in.
right.
Or and so then the child ends up getting too much screen time for their developing brain. Um, or parents will go to the other extreme and they've heard so many negative things about electronics that they completely ban them. And while
Mm,
that can be good, um, as kids start getting older, if they don't get some exposure to some of these things, then they start to feel like they're not fitting in
mhm.
with the rest of their friends and what's
Like understanding what's happening
yeah,
culturally around them.
culturally, yeah, they just
They don't
start to
have the
feel like
power. I mean,
you're
right?
right, exactly. So definitely things like electronics, bedtime, how much sleep does my child need? How
Mhm.
can I help my child get sleep? Um, let's see.
All right.
And also things like too, like consequences.
Yeah.
What are appropriate consequences? And specifically for my child, what do I give a consequence for? What do I not? Sometimes parents are a little confused about that. Sometimes they'll want to give a consequence for something that is really a symptom of a disorder that their child is struggling with, and it may be appropriate, but sometimes it's not.
Those are all super normal things, but we need help with it. Okay, when we were talking before we did this, like 20 minutes ago,
Yeah.
you said there's this phrase that you
Yeah.
lean into. What is
Yes.
that, and where does it come from?
Okay. So one of my favorite books on parenting, No Drama Discipline,
Okay.
um, is uh, written by the same people that uh, wrote The Whole Brain Child, Dan Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have a phrase when they're talking about parenting, that they say connect, then redirect. So when we're talking about discipline and consequences and all of these things, um, the first thing that we want to be able to do with our children is we want to be able to connect with them. Ultimately, relationship comes first,
Hmm.
and we want to be able to connect with our kids.
Yeah.
Um, then we can redirect them. But if we don't first connect with them, we're not going to be able to teach them or to be able to redirect them. So
Yeah.
there's
Okay, I'm
a
sorry.
lot. There's a lot that goes into that, but that one, I love that phrase of theirs. It really captures so much of the heart of discipline and what it means to um, parents.
Well, I wonder what it would be like if that was on all of our minds first, those of us that have children, to let that be the thing that our kids remember. Because there's just so much of it that's going to be learned or that's going to be things that they might need to peel back when they're older. But like with all the mess of growing up and living life, knowing that you had a safe place and that you were connected with your mom and dad or or a caregiver or mom or dad, depending upon how
Hmm.
you're growing up, to
Yeah.
where you just believed it. I just think that that has such a it's such an imprint. It's such a powerful thing for a human being to say, well, I had that, which it brings us to a place to where I don't know, maybe some of the things that we feel like that we need as adults aren't really that those big of a needs. If we as parents would do that, right?
Yes. Oh gosh, absolutely.
Yes.
Um, Man, and that's one of the things I love about getting to work with kids is that and kids and families is it's truly, truly my hope and desire that and really honestly it's a privilege to get to work with children and families because if I can help a child and a family connect at this point in their lives, how if I can help them form that secure attachment, that
That's
secure
right.
bond, I have reduced the odds of them having severe mental health issues later on in their life. And we have helped form a secure basis, a secure base, a secure attachment for them to pattern all of their other relationships on throughout the rest of their life.
It changes who they'll marry and
It
who they love.
does.
Like these things, like it's
Yes.
humongous. And and working with people that work with children, what's super something I need to ask you, I want you to get to in a second, is just like when I and I don't know if people know this or not, but like when
Mm-hmm.
I hire therapists, like typically people that are looking for therapist jobs
Mm-hmm.
will say something like, and this was true working at the church, this was true working doing the camp stuff. I'd be like, hey, well, who do you want to work with?
Mm-hmm.
I would say 8 out of 10 will say, I mean, adolescents are cool, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's adults, I mean, but like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I can do work with the little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this guy that I used to work with. His name's Chuck Allison, and Chuck worked with littles. And he said, "My if I want to have the biggest bang possible, if I want to make the biggest difference, if I want to change the world, it's going to be the 5-year-old." But there's
Yeah.
only like 2 out of 10 people that I talk to about jobs and things like that, like really, really want to do that. And I think I know why. It's
Mm-hmm.
harder. It's harder.
uh,
I think. I don't know.
I don't know. I really think I really think it's in what we're gifted with.
Come on.
And eh, that's truly and honestly what I think. I think we're all called and gifted to different things. And so I want to take what I believe I've been gifted in and use that gift and steward it the very best that I can. Um, but I never I don't want to put myself on a hierarchy with
Yeah,
others.
I appreciate that. Sure.
Yeah.
A couple more questions. One, yeah, and
Oh.
I know some people might know this, but like
Mhm.
we're not a religious or Christian necessarily a counseling group. We have people that all do all different things. We're
Sure.
committed to do good therapy with people, although we have several people in our group, I mean, a decent amount that like
Hmm.
lean into that direction. And I know that that's been a thing that people have sought with you is that
Hmm.
you're like, I mean, gosh, I can like have a consistent conversation with you and your kids about Jesus and things like that. And
Hmm.
that's been I mean, I get it. Like some folks don't want that and you don't do that, but like there's
No.
other, you lean in there and it's super helpful, right? That's a thing, right?
Yes, I've had several parents or, grandparents who had custody of their children, while their children were trying to work through some problems of their own, that have said, faith is my Christianity and my faith is really important to me, and it's important to me and my child. And they were concerned that um, that was they didn't want that to be mocked in a counseling setting, and they've heard some things about
Oh, right.
others, and I'm like, hey guys, don't worry about that. It's okay. um I myself am a believer. I do not have to counsel of people who are only believers by any means,
Right.
but it's definitely something that I'm like, hey, I can work with that. That is totally fine. We can talk about it. We can work your faith into counseling, into play therapy. It is okay. We can use that as a strength and build on that. So absolutely. um it's definitely not something that is going to be held against you um, in here at all. We can use it as an asset.
And the opposite is also true. I said opposite, it's not the
Absolutely.
right word, but being able to say,
No.
I'm a therapist, and if you're someone that's coming looking and you're like, hey, can you, I know a lot of folks in town might lean into this, and or maybe
Mhm.
I watched your video. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want that, but you don't have
Yes.
to do that because your job is just kind of help kids heal and grow and help families. Like you can do that as well, right? And that's
Absolutely. 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 My job, my goal in here is that I want to create a safe space where kids and families can come. They know that they're loved and they're cared for. That my goal is to help them in whatever situation they're in to the very best of my ability, whatever that looks like for them.
I love that.
That's what it is.
I am so appreciative of your work. You are right now taking referrals. So like if you're
Yes.
a family in the Tulsa area, South Tulsa, or even around,
Hmm.
you can call our office. Our number should be on all our stuff, 918-760-5243, or email info@Chris King Counseling. Ask
Hmm.
for Leanne if you've got a little dude or dudette that you want her to work with. And I, I I think you did a great job. Can I just say that on this
Yeah, that's
talk?
right.
You being yourself, like, because
Yeah.
it's great. What you're doing is awesome. I'm just so
Thank you.
thankful. One last question before we knock out.
Yeah.
What do you do for fun?
Oh man. So I do lots of things for fun. Um, I will randomly buy Lego sets and build them just for fun
Oh,
by myself. I also love to work out,
yeah,
so I will go lift weights, do that. Let's see, what else do I like to do for fun? Sometimes, gosh, well, and just I like to spend time with my own niece and nephew. They're pretty
yeah,
fun kids to hang out with.
yeah.
So, but I like adult time too, every now and then. So,
Well, that's good. You need it.
yeah.
Do you ever take your Legos to the gym and spread them out on the floor of the yoga studio? And I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, like combine it all. And,
Just come.
I have built a gym before with Legos, and that's how I've combined them.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, yeah,
All right.
that's been the great combination.
Uh, Leanne Shannon, thank you for giving your time, and we'll put this
Yeah.
up for folks and get a hold of us, get a hold of her. We want to help. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Bye.
Appreciate you.
Bye.